What do you think is going to be the cause for the next world war? The next war is going to be over fresh water. These three lakes, you see those lakes? Victoria to the north, Lake Tanganyika, and Lake Malawi down there. They hold 30% of all the fresh water the world has.
What does Africa lack in terms of resources? What do we lack? If it is solar energy, which continent is capable of producing solar energy to light this continent and the entire earth? If it is hydroelectricity, what can we not generate? If it is minerals, if we wanted to make bombs, if we should, where do they get their uranium from? If it is timber, what don't we have? If it is human resources, we are 2 billion of us. And we are people who have intelligence.
The first known carbon neutral industrial zone in the world today is in Africa. And we can do that at scale in a carbon neutral way. If we do that, we will reduce shipping, we will reduce the carbon footprint of most of what we have, we will provide origin traceability for what is produced.
Africa is far from being poor. It is Africans who are poor, not Africa.
Poverty had increased in spite of GDP growth in some countries. Employment has not been generated. Infant mortality rate has not gone down. Number of people who should be in school that are not in school had increased rather than gone down. Now, so there's something wrong in our measuring our well-being and development in terms of GDP growth alone.
Most Africans are supposed to rely for their livelihoods on agriculture. Yet, whereas an American farmer producing maize can yield 10 tons of maize on 1 hectare planted, the best we have been able to do in Africa is 2 tons of maize per hectare. The problem is not just that difference. The problem for me is that 50 years ago, the gap wasn't that big. The gap wasn't that big. But while the rest of the world has moved forward in terms of use of technology in agriculture, Africa seems to have been marking time. France has a population of 65 million people, yet it generates 4 times more electricity, 4 times, than all the 47 sub-Saharan African countries generate for their 805 million people.
The recently signed Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is a major milestone in the march to African integration. This process will culminate in the achievement of the African Economic Community. The CFTA will facilitate intra-African trade, foster regional value chains, and ensure competitiveness and innovation, and thereby contribute to Africa's progress and development.
Mara tu baada ya kufunguliwa kwa filamu hii na kusambaa duniani kote kwenye sekta ya utalii, tumeweza kupokea watalii 796 walioingia nchini kutoka Israeli wakiwa na ndege 3 zilizoandamana, kila ndege moja ya abiria 262. Hiyo ni faida ya Royal Tour. Na tumeendelea kufungua milango kutoka nchi mbalimbali, Italia, Marekani yenyewe, Uingereza, kuingia nchini bara na visiwani kwa ajili ya utalii.
Sub-Saharan Africa faces 3 big challenges over the next generation. It will double its population to 2 billion by 2045. By then, more than half of Africans will be living in cities, with all that means. And this group of mostly young people will be connected through mobile devices. Properly harnessed and planned for, these are positive forces for change. Without economic growth and jobs, they could prove a political and social catastrophe.
Africans are poor, but Africa is not poor. If I bring it back to CEO Round Table, what does this mean to us as leaders? What can we do to champion Africa's transformation? As leaders, we're in a good position to give our insights, our thought leadership around what it is that can help governments drive this transformation. Access to education. But again, even if there is access, how relevant, how appropriate is it today's economy? As leaders, the legacy that you leave is the talent that you've developed. And for our societies, we've got a particular responsibility to develop talent. We as leaders are in a particular privileged place to be able to lead by example, and if we do, we set the foundation for everything else.